Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop, whoop. Heather McDonald. Juicy
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have another fabulous show with you today. I have a great guest. First, let me just get into some business. I am packing my cute outfits. I'm going to Las Vegas. Here, I made the billboard of the Venetian. I will be there May 27th, as you know, for my live Juicy Scoop. And I have got to tell you, in prepping the show and producing the show, I am so excited for this show. It is going to be so hilarious. I have a segment with Justin, another juicy one with Spencer, where we're going to talk all the latest on Vanderpump Rules there and all the inside scoop he has. And then I've got Chris coming on, and we are going down some hilarious memory lane stuff. And also great topics. I'm just really excited for the show. And if you cannot come to that show in person, though there are still tickets available for this fun Memorial Day weekend, you can go to heathermcdonald.net and click on the streamer with Moment House. This will be the third time I've done it. Everyone is always very satisfied with the experience. I was wrong when I said that you only had 72 hours to watch it. You actually have 7 days after it becomes available live on May 27th at 8:30 p.m. Then you can watch it for 7 days and then it's gone forever. And I'm telling you, there's some serious juice that I am saving just for this experience that you will get to be part of. Again, heathermcdonald.net. Also, super juicy Patreon this Friday. All of it will be happening because it'll be all, juicy stuff that's happening in my life and the fun weekend that I get to experience with my favorites, Chris, Justin, and Spencer. Couple little updates on Vanderpump Rules. As you know, tonight's the reunion because I'm recording this Wednesday. You're listening to it Thursday morning, so you could be shooketh by now. But I will just follow up on a few things. According to Intel, Kristen says that she believes that Tom got together with Billy Lee, who was once on the show. The intel is that is not true. Also, Tom has been said to have a new influencer girlfriend who kind of looks like Erica Jane. She's blonde. She lives in Austin. And they were seen at a restaurant. They were seen shopping. They've also been told that they're just friends. Also, we saw that Ariana moved out of her house. We now know that she wasn't moving out of her house. It was a paid sponsorship for something, and she really hasn't moved out of the house. She's also going to be giving out chicken at Cane's in like El Segundo. And then, of course, she was on Call Her Daddy, which was very good. And she gave a lot of insight on her side of, what was going on. I listened to some of it. But I do think all these things is what she said. She is going to, as I always say, make the money while you can make it, whether it's selling chicken wings at Cane's, doing someone's show, whatever it is, make that money, girl, so that you can get out of that house and buy your own. But I think that's what's going on here. And so don't be mad that you thought she really moved to the house and she didn't. You would take the money too. People are saying it's been confirmed Raquel is not pregnant. We are going to find out not this week. We're probably going to find on the third or the final reunion is when we're really going to know what is this big secret. A couple things could be, I am pregnant. I was pregnant. I have a drug and alcohol problem that caused me to do this. And the final one, which is many people have speculated, I have just been recently diagnosed that I am on the spectrum for autism, Asperger's, whatever, therefore not getting to understand social cues. And that causes my awkwardness and my whatever. All that could be happening. We will soon find out. Also, someone said, hey, was she a fan of Euphoria? Did she watch that and somehow that got into her brain and she wanted to be like the Sydney Sweeney character that slept with her best friend's boyfriend, Jake? I don't know. I'd be very curious to know. Did she watch the whole season, every season of Euphoria, and how intently was she into that show? I texted Sheena and asked, are you guys fans? I haven't heard back. Very curious about that. Anyway, it's very interesting. I was always interested in Ariana and Tom's relationship. I thought it was weird when they bought a house because she said, I never want to get married. I never want to have kids. He said he wanted to have kids, but then they bought this house. But then she said we were each other's ride or die. We were each other's, if the apocalypse happens, we're going to have each other till the end. And that is why when they only had sex 4 times a year, she just thought they were going through a phase. But this was just ebbs and flows. That was basically the gist of the last interview she did. So there we are. I just wanted to fill you guys in. I know some of you are very sick of talking about this, and you're like, Heather, can you just get back to the fun, juicy scoop? Well, I am, because I have a great guest, and we are going to get into hot topics as well as his hilarious reactions to watching Housewives for the first time, and you're going to love it. It's a juicy scoop. Bravo, Real Housewives history lesson for you all. Get ready for a great show. And don't forget to go to heathermcdonald.net for all the live tickets, my merch, and of course, to join my Patreon. Hello, and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a dear friend of mine, Guy Branum, writer, showrunner, comedian, actor, model, all of it. But more importantly, my one-time office husband, roommate, office mate at Chelsea lately. Welcome back to Juicy Scoop. You've been on 2 times?
Yes.
Over the years. The one good thing out of the writer's strike is that you are available.
And
not only available to come on my show, but available to, for the first time, sit down and watch all the Housewives. You're texting me questions. We had one intense moment at the Abbey where you asked me a lot. And then you wrote me yesterday, and I was like, this is perfect. Come on in. So welcome back.
Good to be here. The thing is I wanted to have an additional thing I could talk to gay guys about. Like, during the pandemic, I Duolingoed French a bunch.
We also need to disclose, being that it's Pride Summer, that you are, in fact, an out gay man.
I'm an out gay man.
Okay.
I'm announcing it officially for the first time here. But I wanted to have another thing to talk to gay guys about, and so I was like, I will watch all of Beverly Hills. I was just like, I will take one franchise, and I will just have it authoritatively.
That's your Christian service as a gay man.
Yes.
And a Jew.
And it was really compelling, but also while watching it, I just kept thinking back to, not so much with Beverly Hills, but like my friend Matt Rogers, he very much was like, you have to just take this momentum and go straight into New York. And watching the first season of New York, that was like a time when we were working together. And it was also a time when I just remember you being so excited about OC and just sort of like that world. And then when New York started up, I watched it a little bit. And so I had so many questions. And also, I love knowing backstory on stuff, so I'm constantly Googling things during. And the number of times that like information reportage was coming out of Juicy Scoop was like really exciting. And finally yesterday, I was just like, well, I have to.
Oh, you mean you like Googled articles and it was
Yes.
like, this person came on Juicy Scoop and said this. Oh, my heart's aflutter. That's so nice.
But I was
made it.
why am I not listening to, the best thing about being a comedian and listening to podcasts is that you can call or text the person on the podcast afterwards to weigh in with your opinions. And I'm like, why am I not listening to this? And I'm currently in the middle of just being in love with Carol Radziwill. And so.
Well, she's a real, actual friend of mine. So we'll get into those questions. First, though, will you just explain to the people very simply, what is the Writers Guild strike? I've obviously support it, but I think people have a lot of questions of what it is, and I just want you to explain what the fight's about.
So every 8 years, there's a big contract that says the minimum things that are going to be provided to people who write for shows that are covered by this. So basically anything that's on real TV, sometimes on like extended cable, covered, not covered, it depends on the show. But it's things like basic pay, and more importantly than anything else, the residuals that you're going to receive. Because, the writers on the first couple of seasons of The Simpsons, those episodes of television have been aired millions of times, and those people received nothing other than...
Well, they don't?
Nothing.
Because at that time, animation wasn't included.
Yes. Right now, only animation on Fox is covered by the Writers Guild. Just about everything else is
and
not.
Also because The Simpsons also predicted everything that's ever happened in the world.
Yes.
So they were psychics that were also writers.
Right. And just with the way that the industry has changed and is changing, it's like when we wrote on E, like something would re-air and then you would get a little check later on because,
after we became Writers Guild.
After we became Writers
Wait,
Guild.
were you part of it?
No, I was not.
Okay. I've told that story. It was a lot of fun, Pandera lunches.
Yes.
We did it. We got it. And then they didn't honor it when the show ended up early. They did not honor the 6-month.
Oh, really?
No, they walked in and they said, you can either stay till August 27th and that'll be your last paycheck, even though you've been here for 7.5 years, or you can leave early and miss out on $19,000. And I go, what about paying me till the end of December, which would be the 6 months?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, they're not doing it. So what are you going to do about it? And Jen Kirkman and I, Jen is on the front line. She's a writer and showrunner, and she's written on the fabulous, what is it?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Fabulous, Marvelous Miss Maisel. She and I were both like, should we do this? And I was like, I don't know when I'm going to see $19,000 again.
Yep.
So I'm going to take the next couple months and have fun with it. And they were cool about us leaving on Fridays or whatever. But that was the deal. So like I've explained why, like, even though you have a Writers Guild thing, there's a Hulu doc that I'm part of that just came out called The Randall Scandal about Randall Emmett.
Yeah.
And because I'm became good friends with both of them, he and his ex Lala from Vanderpump, they asked me to be part of it. And also Lala's featured in that doc coming out as a guest on Juicy Scoop. And he wrote this show. He got writers from Writers Guild to write, did the arc of 7 seasons of a show called Pump that was going to be about Arnold Schwarzenegger and his rise to bodybuilding in the 70s in Venice, and they did the whole 7 seasons of like, this is what it's going to be, and then for whatever reason, Arnold was all excited, but then Arnold switched, and you know how this could be, from one big agency to another, and the whole thing fell apart.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, well, sorry, I'm not paying you the Writers Guild money. So then Writers Guild fought him, and now there's a judgment.
Yeah.
And he's still refusing to pay it. But that's the kind of shit
one of the big things
that happens.
I mean, the things that are happening right now is with streaming, they're not paying us for residuals in the way that would reflect like success or failure. There's this thing called mini rooms, which is getting people before a show is officially picked up to write a bunch of episodes.
Which would have been like this Pump thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then turning around and saying, oops, we're not going to do that. And then the other big thing is sort of defining the space that AI can take in this stuff.
Right.
Because, there's going to be a real temptation when it comes to like, award show intros or something like that to just have a computer do them because it's cheaper than a person. And so that's why we're on strike.
That's a perfect explanation, and thank you. And we are 100% behind you, obviously. But in the meantime, we get to enjoy you here. Real quick before we get into all the housewife stuff, because this is Real Housewife history coming later on, but I want to cover some hot topics. Jeff Bezos is also in love and engaged to Lauren Sanchez. To give you guys a little history, Jeff has a small company called Amazon. Lauren is a very pretty girl that was like, I knew her because I was friends with Jillian Barberie, who was, the star of the morning LA show. Yes. Then Lauren started to be on it a lot, and she was a host and this and that.
Jillian, a great broadcaster.
Yes, and a great person. So Lauren, she was featured a lot. She was pretty. She was a host on things. She had an NFL husband she has one child with, divorced him, then married this, I think it was William Morris agent. They have 2 kids that are 15 and 16. And they were social friends with Jeff and Jeff's wife. And then they fell in love. Then Jeff gets divorced. She gets divorced. Now they're together. And now they are engaged.
I want more of my friends to tell me stories about property settlements from divorces. I love a juicy property settlement, and it makes me angry that nobody ever has this information for me. I think this is like exciting, and I think she's smart to get a good, nice, solid prenup. I think a good, nice, solid prenup with a guy who's coming into the marriage that rich.
He has, I think it's he's worth like $139 billion.
Yes.
And the latest article we read was how much would she get in a possible divorce?
38.
They're speculating that if she was to get divorced based on just stock and stuff, she could probably walk away with $38 billion herself.
But I think it's really easy for him to hide that money on paper. It's really easy for him to get divorced at a point in time when his paper value has gone down. So if he's at 138 now, and then there comes a point in time when Amazon stock is pretty bad right now. She needs to buy low and sell high if she's going to try to, marry Jeff Bezos without a prenup. But I think in a situation like that where they have access to a lot of lawyers, going in with nice documents that say she gets $60 million if she leaves, that's safe. I don't know.
I think that they are in love since they got together. He got on what's that stuff? He got on something.
HGH, yeah.
Yes. And that kind of beefed him out.
Yes.
Made him a little less nerdy. Meanwhile, his wife, who also walked away with so much money, she married a teacher, and she ended up divorcing him after 2 years. So it's hard to find a good guy.
But the thing is you need to understand when this is your third bite at the apple, you're not going to get first wife money. You know?
But listen, I think they are a good couple. I think they're in love with each other. I love that she's 53.
Uh-huh.
She's super fit.
Uh-huh.
Has she had some work done? Yeah. Who the fuck hasn't? Myself included. She's 53. She's got a good body. And I think they're very happy together. And Drake goes, why would he get married? And I go, why not?
Yeah.
It's not even if she took a chunk of money from him, it would not affect him taking a private plane, getting on his huge yacht, having homes everywhere. There's not one thing on this earth that he can't purchase, whether he gets divorced from her or not. So why not make a commitment to someone that you really are in love with and you enjoy as you enter your golden years?
Well, also there's just sort of that social elements that I understand so much better now after 8 seasons of Real Housewives of New York, of having that person and that partner and people knowing who is accompanying you. I feel like that is really soothing to straight people. Yeah.
That's still there for us.
Yes.
Can we have one thing? No, listen, I just want to say she has 2 kids that are 15 and 16. Mm-hmm. I will be curious to see where they end up in college.
Oh, that's very funny.
I know, Lori Loughlin got in trouble, and as my kids, I told my kids right off the bat, you're not going to any of the schools that I got into, okay?
Can I tell you a great story?
Yes.
There was a billionaire finance guy in New York, and they did an article about him 10 years ago because he had given essentially he gave $20 million to 5 of the Ivies and MIT to hedge his bets on his children.
Yes, and
then the daughter and then at the Mindy Project we had this intern. We had never had an intern before, but we had an intern who came and just sat in our offices for a summer, and then at the end she gave Mindy a perfect scale model of Mindy Lahiri's office from the show.
How cool.
I know. And then left, and we were like, what's that deal?
Is she an architect?
No, she is this billionaire's daughter.
Okay, so she was just able to get someone to do that.
And now she writes for The Tonight Show.
That's literally so funny because remember in this show that Mindy was in, the movie that Mindy was in about writing.
Oh, yes. Late Night? Yeah.
Late Night, there was a lot of elements of that, of
yes.
a billionaire or connection or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, all I can offer a school is if you take Brandon, you get a shout out on Juicy Scoop, and I will tag you when I visit the school. Do you think that's going to get him into USC?
No, but I think it could. Some smaller liberal arts colleges might be really
get
into
a little
it.
Excited.
Yes,
Juicy Scoopers who are on any admissions anywhere, DM me. We can have a cute lunch every time I visit.
I would say you could get him into Vassar. You could get Brandon into Vassar. It's too late for Drake.
Oh, no. He's at ASU and killing it. Okay.
Okay. Just one more thing before we go on.
No, we're not. We're still talking about them. Continue.
Okay.
This is them on their yacht, $500 million yacht.
Would you strongly encourage your 15-year-old son to take Jeff's name? would you encourage him to be like,
Oh. I don't think he can. I think the dad is no schlep.
Okay.
The dad is a huge partner at William Morris.
Okay.
And I think that would be awful. But I know people have done that in the past.
Yeah.
My friend Trace Ellis Ross.
Yes.
Ross is her mother's name.
Yes.
Which isn't even her real mother's name.
Right.
And she had a lovely Jewish father.
Yes.
I don't know his last name.
Yes.
But at a certain point in her 20s, in pursuing Hollywood, she became Tracy Ellis Ross. Not a bad move.
Not a bad move.
I don't think the dad minded. She always remained a wonderful relationship with her father as far as when we were close. So, yeah, whatever works. Do the boys wish that they were Drake and Brandon McDonald? Drake? Do you wish that I would have made you Drake McDonald instead of Drake Tobias?
I don't think it would have mattered.
I think he says it wouldn't matter, and I think that's great. You know, like,
But
I
do you
decided
think-
that.
Do you think Drake is more likely to go into West Valley real estate or celebrity gossip? That's the question.
I think he'll go into finance, but he was recognized in Westlake the other day at In-N-Out eating with his cousin. A Juicy Scooper said, "Are you Heather McDonald's son, Drake?"
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Like, I'm not on TV, and just rarely do I even feature him that much. But he's a recognizable kid.
It's the unfortunate thing that we need to acknowledge for the WGA strike is TV just doesn't matter as much anymore. Like, we have good entertainment being made by children at home with cats. So the whole game is changing. But I love a nice 53-year-old
yes, she's
trophy
awesome.
wife. Yes.
And she's no dummy. She's a helicopter pilot. She's a journalist. Like, hey, the relationship did start shady.
Yes.
They were couple friends. It's a little Vanderpump
Yes.
Rules. She was friendly with his wife, just like Raquel was friendly with Ariana, and best friends. But in the end, she is doing fine. She fell in love with the teacher, but then they broke up. I think they have every right to be happy, and it seems like the kids all like each other and all that.
The reason that the Juicy Scoopers keep coming back to you is that you are, at the end of the day, a responsible Catholic sorority girl. And, like, does a situation like this tell you that you do need to have certain kinds of boundaries with your couple friends? Like, do you think that this was a game played poorly or played correctly?
I think she is incredibly good in the sack. Mm-hmm. And there are certain women and certain men that is one of their talents. Other people are great cooks. Other people can, decorate well. I think that she has gotten 3 men to marry her. I think she's pretty on the eyes, but I also think she's really good at sex. Some people are really good at it, and other people are a pillow princess, and that is me.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, she's got to be bringing a lot to the table, because if it was just good pussy, I mean, he's Jeff Bezos. If he wanted other better pussy, he could just order it and it would show up within a day, because he's probably Amazon Prime.
There are men, yes, I agree. And that's funny. And there are men that, go for the younger chick all the time. But I've said this on my show before, which is really interesting, is that billionaires want other billionaires' ex-wives.
Oh, that's interesting.
We're going to get Housewives.
That's very interesting.
Housewives.
Yes.
David Foster went over to Mohammed Hadid's house and looked at a photo and said, "Who is that?" And he goes, "That's my ex-wife." And he goes, "I would like to meet her. Do you mind if I meet her?" And Mohammed was like, "No problem."
They were so collegial about that. Do you think that's just because he's like, she knows how to handle herself in these situations?
I mean, I think age... Like, listen, if you look great and you're sexy and stuff, and now you also have all this stuff in common, yes, and and you have the same friends, and it's also like, this other guy had this wonderful wife. Yes, it happens all the time, and I think too often people think, oh, the guy's just out to, marry a 20-year-old. That happens too, but it's more likely that if you're a woman of a certain, don't worry, girls that are over 40, over 50. Don't think that you can't also marry up. You absolutely can.
Well, also, guys like Bezos get a thrill off of business mergers and acquisitions.
Yes.
And when it comes to sex also, he acquires and then merges,
Yes. So I'm all for it. This is their yacht. And people said, is this, which is on the yacht, is that her? It was that made to look like her. And I think it looks a lot like her. Look at the lips. It's like a statue, but it has lip filler, and it's a little tacky. I will say it's a little mermaidy, but who cares?
I mean, if it makes them happy,
I'm all for it. So good luck to them. I also want to mention one thing about you is that I've talked about, and I know you don't work on the show anymore, but you did work on the other two.
Yes.
On HBO Max, which is the third season.
Yes.
And I have told people to watch it because it is so, your sense of humor is so fucking funny.
It is very gay. It is very entertainment. It is very juicy scoop.
It is a juicy scoop stream of a comedy.
Well,
Molly Shannon, it's so funny.
The more important thing is, have you had Matt Rogers on Juicy Scoop yet?
No.
You guys, I took Heather to see Matt Rogers' Christmas show a couple of years ago.
We've been trying to make this thing happen.
But like, so much of the stuff, like on the season that Matt and I worked on it, just sort of the jobs that you have when you are like an up and coming gay comic in, like a weekly internet show about what Laura Dern's doing or whatever.
Yeah.
These were all taken from like jobs that Matt had, where it was just like a bunch of gay guys and a bunch of women of color eating food and being sassy to each other about it. And it was really ridiculous, and all of it is on the show, and I love it.
And the Gay Minute is his friend's show, too. Okay, one more. Now, speaking of other rich men, Jeffrey Epstein allegedly, I guess, well, it's not allegedly, they have emails, threatened to expose Bill Gates' affair with this Russian bridge player. So Bill Gates had an affair. Now, he is also divorced, and his wife also got a ton of money. And what was weird about when their divorce became public was that he had a, like, same time next year situation with, like, a colleague from his, like, 20s. And they would go to this, like, summer house, and he would spend a month with her every summer while they were having kids and raising kids, and the wife was like fine with that.
I love when people have an arrangement. I love what Bill Gates' version of a slut is. Like Bill Gates' version of sort of like, bring me the hottest, most athletic woman imaginable is a Russian professional bridge player. Is so funny. And also I just like, I know what Jeffrey Epstein did was reprehensible. God, he was good at it.
Well, I always said that I believe he acquired the majority of his billions or millions or whatever just through simple blackmail. I think he invited people to these parties, and then they'd have these wild parties. And I even think a lot of these men, and this is just my opinion, innocently maybe engaged with a blowjob or whatever, thinking the girl was young and hot, but thinking... And then the next morning was like, here's your coffee. And by the way, the girl that gave you a blowjob last night was 17 years old. And here's a video of it. Now give me $5 million.
Okay.
Now donate to my charity.
You know the origin story of his money with the guy from The Limited, don't you?
Explain to the people at home.
So the man who owns The Limited is like an older married guy in Ohio. And when Jeffrey Epstein was like young and kind of hot, he showed up and worked with him. And basically... the assumption is he had to manage his money.
They were a couple.
That like Jeffrey Epstein had sex with him in exchange for being able to steal millions of dollars from him and just sort of relocated. And the guy, not wanting to say, oh, this guy I've been having sex with stole from me, just like let it happen. And like that his original damage was sex for money makes me understand why he then turned and became so exploitative in so many ways.
Right.
But like the story that Carol told on your interview.
Carol Radswell.
Of like talking to Ghislaine, and then a day later, like Prince Andrew is calling her. It's just like, it makes you understand the process so much better of like, at no point in time did Carol Radziwill, a like capable professional woman, say, I would love to be trafficked. But then Ghislaine was just sort of like,
you should go on a date with Prince Andrew when you're out there.
I've got a hot professional girl who, you know, I mean, an adult woman, but like...
Well, she was just widowed, Carol.
Yes, but also legally a princess.
Yeah.
Why don't I offer her to Prince Andrew? And it's just like, God.
Yeah, and exactly. And it wasn't all... girls who were not 18 yet and under. It was all... So this girl, this bridge girl, she looks really young in the photos, but I looked it up, and at the time, she was like 30 when she was dating Bill Gates. But so he knew about this situation, and this girl had gone to Jeffrey Epstein and asked for him to like finance her education and also this bridge school. And so then he was like, I'm going to expose this affair unless you pay me back the money I gave to her. And so it was like, this was just one of many things. But technically, Bill Gates, in this scenario, did nothing wrong but cheat on his wife, who he's now divorced from.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, the larger moral wrongness of that to anyone other than your wife is, like, always a big question.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Jeffrey Epstein, what a businessman. Like, he was always finding answers. But also, I would truly love to see what Bill Gates' porn looks like. How many,
a bridge player.
Statisticians fingering professional chess players. Who knows?
Oh, my God. Okay, so now let's get into the Real Housewives history.
Yes.
So you gave me a couple things you wanted to talk about. We grabbed some photos.
Uh-huh.
This is season 3, which was Luann, Jill Zarin, Bethenny, Kelly Bessimode, Ramona, and Alex McCord. So,
does any part of you miss Alex and Simon? They were just such a weird flavor in those first 4 seasons.
Absolutely amazing. The fact that they are still striving.
Yes.
The boys are like my boys' age.
Yes.
She is on. What is she on? Did we see her in no, she's in a upcoming. She's in the next Ultimate Girls Trip.
Oh, really?
Yes. With the one where Brandy supposedly makes out and grabs Carol Manzo's breasts and vagina. She is in that season that's coming up.
If there was anything that, like, weirded me out about that season that who was the Denise on Beverly Hills?
Denise Richards.
That, like, they bi-shamed her, like, Brandy and her so hard. I was like, how can the central scandal of this season be the possibility that some of these women have had sex with each other? Like, everybody grow up and get a little bit cooler. Though I hate Brandy, let's be clear.
Right. Well, I mean, that we can get in. Let's get to Beverly Hills after. Let's just finish. Let's stay on this.
Okay.
What do you want to ask me about what struck you about watching this? This was the season that Jill and Bethenny friendship ended.
Right. I mean, to me, it is the bridge between this season and what happened here, because I was like, it really was, to me, it seemed like Jill kind of learning how the show was working. Like, by this point in time, Jill is producing for herself. She's making things happen. She's also really seems like the first person in New York to start to understand the game of playing outside press. And she gets a lot of, like, flack for that. But more than anything, I, like, watched it and I was like, oh, Jill overplayed her hand. I wonder how she feels about it now. Well, and it also makes me think about the way that, like, at Chelsea lately, when success was starting to happen and we were all so happy and we were all in it together, but also you're constantly jealous of other people and what they're getting. And that energy between Jill and Bethenny, and Jill sort of being mad that she wasn't the 37-year-old and that she wasn't getting to do the Today Show and all of that. But then when Bethenny comes back, I'm just like, the thing she needs right now is a Jill Zarin. And the more that I see Bethenny in seasons 7 to 11, the more I am like, is this person capable of having a friend? Like, after her...
All this is amazing.
Okay,
so you've said a lot, and I have to just, like,
yes,
interrupt.
Absolutely.
So people always say, let your guest talk, Heather. I see the comments, okay? But, first of all, yes, because of our experience at Chelsea lately, where we were... all on the show, and we had, movie deals and a pilot here and a pilot there, but we wanted to be featured on the round table. One of my biggest regrets of that time is that I did let jealousy affect me a little bit. And thank God I remained friends with everybody. Yeah. But even with Sarah Colonna, like, she had a book come out, and her book did better than mine. And I was like, happy for her. She's crying. I'm number 5. And I'm like, Heather, be happier for Sarah. Like, it was, I can honestly, and I can say that as a woman my age that's completely fine now with all my friends beyond succeeding me in every way. Like, I don't care, but it takes a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And when you're in this thing where you think that the one chance you're going to make it in Hollywood is that if your pilot that with the Chelsea Lately handle gets taken, that's when I get to be the mom in a sitcom. That's podcast didn't even exist back then.
Right.
So I really thought this is my chance. Yeah. I'm getting close to 40. Like, if this doesn't go, whose turn is it next? Who's the baton going to be tossed to? Who's going so we had all of that, which is still the funnest time of my life. But I look back and I'm like, it could have been even more fun, and it could have even been more supportive.
There's something so interesting.
And I wonder if they look. I know Jill does. I know because I've had so many conversations with her about exactly what you said. She said this over and over. I thought we'd fight, we'd have this moment on TV, and then we would make up.
Yeah.
And Bethenny was no longer willing to make up, but also Bethenny was getting her own spin-off show to have her baby, and then had a talk show.
Well, I mean, it's so weird to me that Ramona was able to say perfectly sincerely to Bethenny, you're an underdog. Like, when she says that on the Brooklyn Bridge about how she'll probably fuck it up with Jason, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But like, they were able to be like, oh, well, she's the one who doesn't have a husband. She's the one who lives in an apartment. And that Bethenny was able to seize so much power and success, but that it isn't, that she's not able to come back with grace makes me feel really, really sad, you know?
Yeah. It was, Bethenny was always really fun and everything, and they did have a great friendship. And also what you said is true. They came on the show. Chelsea came to me and said, you watched this stupid Housewives.
Yes.
What two women would you have on the show? And I said, Luann. I think I said, Luann and Ramona are really funny, is what I said.
Yeah.
And then she goes, well, Jill and Bethenny are requesting to come on. I go, oh, that's even better. Go for them.
Because Bethenny and Jill have control of the way that they are funny, you know?
So they come on.
Yeah.
They have a fun time. I make friends with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany remembers me from Groundlings.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I found her number the weekend before in a book that's like, this Bethany met her at Rebecca's, wants to come to a stand-up show. Because I used to call people to come. And I'm like, is this your 310 number? And she's like, holy fuck, I knew you from somewhere.
Funny.
So I think we're both doing great.
Yes.
I come out to New York to pitch my book idea. I write them both together. And it's like, it's weird. Like, then they're not writing me on the group together.
Yeah.
And Jill's like, absolutely, let's get together. And then Bethany's person is like, she writes with a person on there, can I do this? And the girl's like, no, you're busy. And then, but if you'd like to have Bethenny on Zoom on Chelsea, which it wasn't Zoom at the time, Skype, she's doing this other girl's talk show, the blonde woman. God, she wrote, anyway,
Jenny McCarthy?
No, she had this other talk show that she's like, anyway, no one remembers the talk show, but she's a great writer. And anyway, she had a talk show that she was always having Bethenny on. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I get with Jill, and Jill's like, you're going to see this season. We completely break up. We're not friends anymore. And then Jill's like, and then I go to surprise the girls on this vacation with Bobby Zarin. And I go, surprise. And they were so awful. Heather, you have no idea how horrible they were. She's telling me all this, and I'm sitting outside. I'm in this hotel room going, and then Jill's like, but we could talk like this, because it's like, we have that thing, like, I'm Jewish, you're Catholic, but very, very much alike, and we're real friends. And I remember she goes, we're real friends. Yeah. Jill, and we have remained real friends all these years. Yeah. But, I think in Bethany's defense, Bethenny was getting these other opportunities, and Jill was like, well, why when we talked at coffee at 9, did you not tell me that you were going over to do this talk show? Because I turned on the TV at 11 and you were there. Yeah. And Bethenny was like thinking, because if I told you, you'd want me to include you, and we're not in a girl band.
Yes.
Like, I have my own aspirations. So I definitely understood Bethany's position.
No, like those sentiments and energies between them reminded me of so much in my own life.
Yes.
And it made me so sad, like for both of them, but also it really made me love them. And like Jill was such a great energy. And I do wonder what subsequent seasons would have been like if you had her there. And like Dorinda kind of comes in and is sort of like that, like sensible mom energy.
Right.
But I also understand the thing, like, as a, like, fat older gay guy, I do understand the thing of like looking down at the younger one who gets to be more glamorous and being like, it's sad that that's not me, you know? And like, I get Jill's, you know.
Jill was always just like, I didn't want the talk show. But would I like to show up once in a while and been on her talk show and had a segment? Like, I thought that's what would be because she got her on the show and because Bobby put food in your mouth.
Also, at the same time, a really interesting mistake thinking that a daytime talk show was the right answer for Bethenny was like so interestingly wrong because it is like there is a level of relatability that is required to do that. Kelly Clarkson can go out on that stage every day and every woman in America can look at her and be like, we would be friends. Like she could come over to my house. She would enjoy the casserole that I made and all of that.
Totally.
That's not Bethenny. Bethenny's so funny. Like Bethenny is so good with jokes. She's able to skew them perfectly. Like sometimes Jill would try to, in like seasons 3 and 4, try to joke in the same way and it would be like a little harsh and it would feel, and like Bethenny, it's so good when Bethenny comes back and she doesn't want to be friends with anyone and she's also making these very mean jokes. It's like, this doesn't feel nice.
Right, exactly. And then she's also crying victim.
Yes, I mean,
But I will say, so I was on her show once or twice, I want to say, of the Bethenny talk show.
Yes.
And I remember sitting there was like a panel, something. And the topic was when you receive a gift from your man and you don't like it. And Bethenny goes off on, you know what it's like. You see the little Tiffany's blue box and da-da-da-da, and it's not the shape of the diamond that you want. And she's literally talking, and she's not talking engagement ring. She's talking like, she was talking about the Tiffany blue box. And I'm like, I've never received a Tiffany blue box. Like what? And I'm looking at this audience, and that's what I'm like. This show, I remember thinking in my head, this show is not going to last. This is not relatable.
Yeah.
She was wealthy her whole life, private schools, all this. She wants to cry, broken home, and narcissistic mom. And I'm not debating that, but she's a girl of privilege her whole life. Did she have to work and babysit Paris Hilton? Yeah, but she still was never going to be homeless. And then she dated rich guy after rich guy after rich guy, and then she became rich on her own. And it's just stop. Now she's doing middle class cosplay. She's going to Olive Gardens and testing and talking about, oh my God, this fucking bread. Are you kidding me? Like just stop.
I mean, stop. It's so sad because she really is so good at so many things. She is so talented. And at the end of the day, I do have sympathy for her because we have both seen in our lives people who can't hold down a relation, like just even a friendship. And I think that she wants so much, like especially with Jill, like after I learned about her relationship with her mom and both of her dads, I was like, oh, she wanted Jill to be all the mother that she never had.
Yes.
And or big sister or whatever.
Right.
And like nobody can give you that. And Jill being a little bit small in the way that all of us have been small, it turned into a blow up. But like truly, I haven't gotten to her fight with Carol, but I have read extensively about her fight with Carol. And it just, again, seems like,
let's talk about the fight with Carol. The fight with Carol is amazing because Carol really got screwed over.
She spent 4.5 seasons. I mean, the thing is that Andy wanted somebody to, he was referred to Bethenny as the narrator of the first 3 seasons. And he wanted somebody to come in and be narrator. And Carol was so good. And I think Carol's fundamental flaw as a housewife is she thought you could be a housewife without crying. She thought she could cry once when she went and got Anthony's ashes. But like other than that was being fun and breezy and didn't understand that you have to like leave chunks of your soul on the table the way that Ramona can every fucking season.
Well, also Carol is I believe the only housewife in history, and I've said this to her, that because she came with no family or husband, she was the luckiest.
Yes.
Because she had nothing to break. Nothing was broken. She didn't get divorced.
Yes.
Her kid doesn't, hate her. Like everybody else, someone in their family suffers collateral damage because the woman decides to go on the show. Because she was a single woman and a widow, like she could have fun. It was great. And so she became really close to Bethenny. And then what happened there is that Bethenny wanted now Carol's really great connections in Hollywood. And there was a time where she
it's about the outfits. Yeah.
the outfits, but also Carol was staying with some very well-connected Hollywood executive's wife or widow or something. And Bethenny was visiting LA, and there was something in which Carol was responding to Bethenny, but she never said, hey, come over to this powerful person's house, hang out all day, exchange numbers, poach the friendship, get a TV deal. Because Carol didn't do that, and in Carol's defense, she was like, literally, my friend was mourning the loss of her husband, so I didn't include Bethenny. Bethenny took that as, you're blowing me off, you're abandoning me, you're not sharing your contacts with me, I'm going to destroy you. And then for the next season, Carol was like, why are you mad at, like, Carol the whole time, that Columbia and everything.
Yes.
Carol was like, what is happening? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Why is she crying in a corner? Why is she making fun of the fact that I got a stylist and I got a new haircut? What the fuck is this? Then they go to the reunion, and one of my favorite parts is that she's there. This is when they used to have blogs, and all the women hated writing the blogs. What's nice now is bring back the blogs. AI could write them for you. But they hated writing the blogs, but they had to write the blogs. And so then instead they would go back then and be like, you said in your blog, and they would rehash that at the reunion. And in the blog, she said she was ripping on Carol, saying like, you're old and you have no job or no career. And then I remember Carol's like, really, Bethenny?
Yeah.
We're age shaming now? This is ageism? And what do you mean I don't have a job? We have the same job. We're on this show together. Like, why do you think you're better than I am? This is a full-time gig.
Well, but the whole time Bethany's back, she's constantly pulling rank. She's constantly trying to say she's better than the show. Like, she's always in a situation where she won't hang out with any, like, half of the housewives.
Right.
And it just, like, we get it. You had your own show for 3 seasons. The fucking scenes where they are backdoor piloting Bethenny and Frederick are insufferable. Do you remember that she and
Frederick, the realtor, had a show?
Yes. And I didn't realize that. And I was like, why are these fucking boring seasons in here? And like...
Oh, because they were trying to do the spinoff, which lasted 1 season.
Yes.
And my intel was that Frederick was like, I will never work with this woman because my real money is being this high-end realtor. And she's calling me an oil salesman and a steak and all this other stuff over some real estate deal for drama. And he's like, you're defaming me, like, on this show. Like, I need to get out.
Okay, so the first thing that makes me happy is that you are actual friends with Carol. Because my fear, because they called her boring a couple of times, and I was like, would she be low energy? But she just seems like so smart and funny and, like, just sort of, you know, who I would be if I were a housewife.
Right.
You know, maybe I would be more dramatic. But I have a question for you. I was reading that possibly Luann and that possibly Aviva got paid by the scene, and that was why, particularly with Aviva, that was a motivating factor for why she behaved like she did. And Bethenny just did an Instagram live or an Instagram reel where she talked about payment, and she said that some of the housewives are paid by the scene. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, there was one season where Luann was demoted to a friend.
Okay.
And instead, a lot of times when that's happened, it's supposedly happened with Heather Dubrow. Heather Dubrow said, I'm out. And that's when she left Real Housewives for a few years. Now she's back. Luann was smart enough to say, okay, fine. They're like, you're going to be paid by the scene. Well, Luann had such an interesting life that she actually, the legend has it, she made more because they wanted to use her so much more. And then the next year she was back holding the apple.
Well, that was also...
But with Aviva, sometimes, I don't know, because sometimes when you're new, they're like, we're going to just test you out. And you're not going to hold the apple, so it might be by the scene. I think it's different with everybody.
Aviva thinking she could be a housewife and not go on girls' trips is offensive to me. Like, it was just ridiculous.
Didn't she have an allergy or something, or a lung problem?
I mean, first she had phobias, and then she had asthma. She had moderate to severe asthma.
Anyway, this was all amazing. Before we go to Beverly Hills, ask me any questions you have.
All right. So my first question is just like, who do you think is most capable of the job? Do you think Sonia treating it entirely as comedy is like I mean, Bethany leveraged it really well, but I feel like Sonya's maybe giving us better entertainment in a way that is long-lasting. Luann is always on a roller coaster, and it keeps her close to the center at all times. Which of these bitches is best at the job?
I actually think Luann is best at the job.
Uh-huh.
She's had stuff happen in her life. She's been honest about it. She's great just being herself. She has great iconic lines. Even
so
though
many
she had,
iconic lines, just be cool.
and even though she had an alcohol issue,
Yeah.
because I don't even still know if I really believe she's a full-blown alcoholic, but she definitely had trouble sometimes with alcohol. You didn't really see it on the show in a sloppy way like Sonia. And
Yes.
so much of Sonia's like moments were just being wasted. And I kind of feel like that's not really giving talent, just being like a sloppy drunk.
Yes.
But I do think Sonia is not a mean or manipulative person, which makes her forever lovable.
Do you hold it against Sonia that she called herself a comedian?
No, I'm okay with all of it. I'm okay with all of it. She called herself a gay icon, a comedian, a cabaret singer.
Also, there's one moment in season 8 where she clearly refers to her assistant as the house gay, and they subtitle it the house guy. And I'm like, no one believes that. All right, talk me through Luann marrying Tom D'Agostino. Why on earth, especially if you're gonna fucking lose the title? Like, and I kind of, if I ever met Luann, want to be a bitch to her about how she does not have the title anymore because she married Tom. But it's just like, part of it is just like,
she has the title just like Queen Latifah has the title. That's
yes,
what she said.
okay,
Still Countess Luann.
I know.
Countess Luann.
I would
I'll
be a
tell
bitch
you-
to her. I would be like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you
Darling,
were
I'll
married.
tell you why I married Tom. I loved being a wife to the Count. I love cooking. I love caring. I was a nurse.
Yeah.
And I met Tom, and it was a whirlwind romance. And I thought we were going to have this fabulous life together. And I was very happy to start that chapter of my life.
I
That's
think
why.
that Luann is the best written comic character on the show. So this is me agreeing with you. Just that, like, if you were writing a script, the whole notion of she's a fancy countess who cares about etiquette and also, like, the biggest whore who will throw it all aside if a pretty man walks in front of her. It's
Yeah, she's horny. And I think
I love her so much.
And I also-
I hate her so much.
I think that what I remember she revealed to me, like in a conversation, is that she, I think she would have put up with an open marriage
Yeah.
had he not fallen in love and asked to leave. Like,
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not there yet.
I mean,
But-
well, he ends up being with this woman, this Ethiopian woman, and then they get divorced. And I remember Bethany being like, they have like an open marriage, whatever.
Oh,
I don't
is
know
she
about an
Ethiopian
open marriage.
princess?
Huh?
Is she an Ethiopian princess?
I
Was that-
don't know if she was some regal thing.
Okay.
But like, and they've continued the last few years to have a really nice relationship. And I said, "Do you ever think you'll get back with the Count?" And she's like, "The thing is, I wish we could have worked it out. Like, she wouldn't have left him over."
Yeah.
Stepping out of the marriage,
the Count left her for the Ethiopian
yes,
woman.
yes. And so then it's like she really didn't have a choice. Like, then she was just like, okay, but she does like being married in a relationship. I think the last few years she's also enjoyed being on the road, doing her cabaret, and like, but and having many lovers and like leaning into that life, which I also think is great. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the end, like 10 years from now, the kids, their grandparents, and she and the Count are like hanging out together, babysitting their grandkids. I would not be surprised.
That's very cute. The thing that is most interesting to me about her just comes down to the phone call on, I want to say it was St. Bart's,
Yes.
when she'd had sex with the Johnny Depp.
And she could speak fluent French.
It's bad French.
Whatever. I don't speak anything.
She does speak fluent French and Italian, let's always remember.
Yeah.
But just that she does these things. She knows that there are cameras there and then cannot admit that they happened. Or like,
Yeah.
in the part where I'm watching now, in some scenes she'll say about the Count, we had an open marriage. And then Bethany will say, did you guys have an open marriage? And she's like, how dare you?
Right, exactly, yes.
It's so funny. But if you are, at the end of the day, a Carol Radziwill who's going to say there's such hypocrisy there, you just have to be like, yes, it's Luann.
Right.
Like, there's going to be hypocrisy there. That's what she does.
But I think she is able to maintain friendships, and I do think that she isn't fake about herself.
Well,
and so, like, I don't know if you know, but they took Luann, Ramona, Sonia, Kelly Bessimone, Alex McCord, this girl, Kristen Takeman, and Dorinda, and they are doing 1 week back at that house where she screwed the pirate.
Oh, really?
And they are doing Ultimate Girls Trip there for 1 week.
Wonderful.
But they didn't ask Jill.
Yeah.
Because Jill said, I want the same pay as the other girls for if they were going to go back and do a Legends thing, like a 5-month filming. And so they kicked her out just because, and they're always calling her so thirsty. She's the only one that's not the hypocrite. She was like, if I don't get paid what the other girls are getting paid, I don't want to do it. So then now they're just doing it for a week.
I mean, the thing is I have no doubt that if Jill had shown up for whatever they offered her, she would have made good television.
Of course.
And like establish a place back in the franchise. And it makes me a little sad. Sometimes I wonder whether I undervalue myself, but I'm always like, I'd rather have the chance than hold out.
But she did Ultimate Girls Trip at Dorinda's house.
Oh, she did?
And Dorinda was very cruel to her.
Oh,
and
really?
Jill doesn't drink anything but Diet Coke and has it for like 15 years. And Dorinda drinks everything else.
People tell me that it turns real sad with Dorinda.
It does. And so it's like, she's kind of like, I think that was also part of her being like, I'm not going to compromise on this and be put in a position to be up against someone who is like cruel and unstable and really mean to me.
I am proud of how Catholic Ramona and Dorinda are. Like when Dorinda is like first being introduced,
and Luann is too.
She talks about, is she?
Yeah.
But like for like Dorinda yelling, "I made it nice" is like the most Italian mom energy I've ever seen. I love it so much.
I cooked, I cleaned, I made it nice. I'll tell you guys, you know what, Luann? You know what? Okay. All right. Yeah. She's a good television. Okay, let's get to Beverly Hills.
Okay.
This is the first season. And what do you want to say?
I just want to say I had only watched I'd watched the first season previously, and I, of course, came out of it hating Camille. And Camille is one of the finest friend ofs, the greatest friend of all time.
The best.
Of course, the morally corrupt Faye Resnick. Like, anytime Faye Resnick enters a scene, you're like, oh, shit just got real. Like, this is going to happen. Like, she's going to throw a bomb and then disappear. And I love her so much. I'm excited that Taylor is back on OC. It is sort of like, bumping somebody down to the minors. But also, I think she'll be great. And, like, I'm glad I watched Beverly Hills first.
Yeah.
Because I think after the flamethrowing of New York, its light elegance might have seemed like, not that great. But, I mean, it's like Lisa's maybe the best Real Housewife. I would say, if anything, she gets too good at it. By the season when she's able to say, the Queen of Diamonds, it's like you're orchestrating.
The crown is heavy, dear. Don't try to lift it.
You're orchestrating things so much that, like, it's not as fun as when you have sort of like equal power.
Well, that's why I think now when people say, would she go back to Beverly Hills? I mean, she's done so much with Vanderpump, and she is such like the motherly figure.
Yes.
And, she was very funny at her speech at the Vanderpump Dog Gala that I went to this weekend. And could she go back? Sure. I think anyone can go back.
Yeah.
I think anyone can go back. But I think people realize that really Lisa's commitment has always, and her real, I think she can be a good girlfriend to someone, but it's like it was always about her family and her businesses.
And the thing is,
as it should be.
And like,
as it should be. That's a realistic thing.
She's got, like, Ken's so great. Yeah. Like, there's such a good comedy game there that it, like, I haven't watched Vanderpump. Of course it seems amazing and I want to watch it.
Yeah.
But just, like, and also the fact that, like, periodically in my life in West Hollywood, like, Ken and Jiggy have shown up. R.I.P. And like it is just sort of lovely. Also, this is really dumb.
It's
is
truly
that?
like that is Kim Richards, Kyle and Kathy's
I'm
sister,
sorry.
who was escaped from West Mountain.
I'm
and,
sorry. Of course, I know Kim. I don't know why it didn't cross
Well,
my mind
this is
that
a
was
very
her.
old picture.
That's
This
a
is like
very old
17
picture.
years old or
I
something.
mean, okay, the dynamic in that
Maybe not 17 years. But
that sister relationship. God, I want to know more about that mom. Like, she seems like a piece
well,
of
I know
work.
everything about her because I've read every book.
But to me, the fundamental damage.
Yes.
The fundamental damage that Kyle is better at life and better at being a real housewife. But Kim Richards is a better actress. Like, Kim Richards, at the end of the day, is a real actress. And there were, like...
Okay, I'm going to say something to you.
Yes.
I've said it before, and I don't think it really took off.
What?
I put this and tweeted out years ago. The dynamic between Kim Richards and Kyle Richards is whatever happened to Baby Jane.
100%. Like, you just need a car accident. No,
Yes.
it's so
yes,
completely
because Kim Richards is the one that was the real star.
Yes.
Kathy got married at 18. Kathy was just a model.
Yeah.
Kim had all the shows, The Nanny, Escape from Witch Mountain, all this stuff. Kyle was littler and had
Yes.
bit parts after. And then they get on the show together and Kyle becomes the star, the brunette star. And the blonde girl who has drug issues and alcohol issues. I'm writing a letter to daddy. And the jealousy, it is amazing.
I mean, on this show, the strength of a marriage is so evident on Beverly Hills in a way that it just isn't on New York. That, like, Lisa and Kyle gain such strength financially, but also just spiritually from having this person who
always
is their
have
partner.
their back. Yeah.
Kathy's best moment
Yes.
is not in seasons 10 or 11 or 12. It is in, like, season 7 or 8 when Kim's daughter comes out with the wedding dress that she has chosen. And her mom's sister is just like, no. And she tries to push back. And neither Kyle nor Kim say a goddamn word. And then I forgot whether it is Kimberly or Brooke, but she tries to push back. And Kathy is just like, looks like a cocktail waitress. And it's like, you can never wear that dress.
I know. I guess I would be curious to know if she did try it.
Kathy is a creature of rare power.
Then a couple seasons in, we had the introduction of Brandi Glanville.
Okay.
We wanted to talk about that.
So Brandi Glanville, what is wrong with Brandi Glanville reminds me of what is wrong with my sister.
Okay.
In the way that just, like, she needs people to love her so much that she will literally say anything or do anything to try to keep control of it. And it is that sort of, like, the thing that, like, irks me but makes Brandi safe is that she'll bite any hand. Like, the fact that there came a moment when she was backed up in a corner with Lisa and then she bit Lisa's hand.
Yes.
And it's like, she's dangerous. And I'm like, Sutton kind of feels, I know that the gays love Sutton. I know that Sutton goes to trivia at Tom Tom. But, like...
Why is it Sutton's phone? Oh, here's Sutton. Okay.
Yes. Back to Kim. When Eileen was a real good housewife.
Yeah.
But when Lisa Rinna and Eileen are trying to talk down to Kim about, you know, her drinking and all of that, and Kim is basically like, you are working actors, but you're trash. And I am a drunk who can barely hold it together, but I know I'm a better actor than you are. And it was very funny to me. But Brandi, I just, like, she makes me uncomfortable when she's on camera. Nobody on New York makes me feel uncomfortable in the way that Brandi really does. Yolanda, I thought was boring and I was angry at her, but her raw Dutchness and her ability to just sort of say, like, a ridiculous thing to a person, it's what makes Amsterdam possible.
Well, she is the reason that there's this saying that goes around called almond mom. Have you heard about an almond mom?
I have heard about an almond mom.
That comes from Yolanda on the show.
No, I'm sorry. You were the one who told me about almond mom.
Not mom, but I used to say every article in an Us Weekly, what do I eat in a day, would be, you know, a handful of almonds as a snack.
My two favorite articles in a women's magazine are healthy snacks you can eat at a Christmas party, and it's always like, instead of a latke, have 9 almonds, and then best jeans for your body type. But no, watching her,
But she said, I just want to say, she said, there was a call from Gigi Hadid, who's now a famous model. So she was right. She was like, you want to be a famous model. But she said a couple things. One, she said, she goes, I don't know, she's like, I don't want you playing volleyball with your big, wide shoulders. You look like a lesbian.
Yes.
And she goes, but I do like volleyball. She's like, well, too bad. And the other thing was the girl called the mom,
Yes.
Yolanda, and she's like, I don't feel good. And she goes, take an almond, one, and chew it up really good for a few minutes, and then spit it out.
No!
Something like that, just to get some nutrition. Because she was always doing these cleanses, these
Yes.
lemon cayenne cleanses.
With
And, hey, her daughters are models. So
Do you think she fundamentally broke them, or she taught them a skill?
I think she taught them a skill. Yes. But then, of course, that husband, found it to not be fun once she had Lyme disease.
I mean, it was really hard, that situation. He seemed terrible. I mean, she did seem really boring, but also, having a hard medical situation is boring. I believe, honestly,
Have you ever seen the music video that she did for him as she's a stewardess?
No.
Singing?
Oh.
She did a music video for him where she sings to David Foster. Where I'm like, why are you singing when his former wife, Linda Thompson, actually wrote the fucking songs with him, okay? And was, Elvis's main girlfriend. So she's like, I can't remember the song, but you can look it up. She's wearing an old-fashioned flight attendant outfit on a private plane, and she's singing this song. So it's like she tried to be more this outgoing actress. And then she's like, everyone comes around and sings. And then when they started to sing, the one song that you could sing on TV, Amazing Grace, he was like, no, please, I'll stop.
But why did Yolanda say yes is the question that
to what?
To Real Housewives. She clearly kind of was annoyed by it the whole time. I do have to say...
I think, honestly, I don't know if she thought it, but it's the only reason her daughters are models.
Oh, that's interesting.
The only reason.
The way she was...
So I think it was... If it was not intentional, it really worked out.
The way she was so single-minded that, both of those girls had to be models and Adnan had to be a model. And it's like, have you seen Adnan? But, having dealt with Aviva, you feel uncomfortable criticizing...
Aviva from New York.
Well, just women who have these chronic health problems, I think it's so easy to dismiss them. But, after having seen Aviva, I have so much more sympathy for Yolanda and her Lyme disease.
What did you think about when Lisa Rinna said, Munchausen's and Munchausen's by proxy?
I think Lisa Rinna is real good at the show. I think Lisa Rinna is...
Do you think that Lisa Vanderpump and Kyle essentially put Lisa up to it to actually put that out there on the show, that people were suspicious of her Lyme disease being Munchausen's?
If they did, good for all of them. Good for it established Lisa Rinna within the show. But I don't think Lisa Rinna needed Lisa Vanderpump to give that to her. I think from the minute Lisa Rinna showed up, Lisa Rinna and Eileen, first of all, them showing up and having each other as friends and partners, great. That Eileen loved doing the light comedy portion of it and showed us just how relatable her life was and not glamorous, hilarious. But they both showed up with soap skills, and Lisa Rinna was like, I've spent the last 20 years of my life watching these dumb plot lines. I will introduce dumb plot lines into this show.
Right.
I love it. I love it. And it's I like when Kim is playing the game. There have been a couple of recent seasons where where Kyle, as reigning queen of Beverly Hills, thinks her only job is to have cute moments with Portia. And by the way, at the end of the day, the only housewives I really care about are Portia and what is Ramona's daughter's name?
Avery.
They're the most interesting, sensible people on any of these shows. I think the best thing about Ramona is that she was able to raise an Avery.
Yeah.
But when Kyle is just doing comedy and not getting into the fray, or when she's just crying, I get very, very tired of it.
Yes.
I miss Adrienne Maloof and the energy of fuck you money. Like, Diana Jenkins brought it in her weird way.
Oh, forget Diana Jenkins. Okay, let's get into what's going on now. Denise Richards. Okay, I want to say Kyle this weekend had her annual white party, but instead of having it at her Encino home, she had it at SoFi Stadium.
Oh.
The whole place was empty, and in the middle of the field, they put out a white carpet and a catered tables, a DJ dancing, and Erica Jane performed.
I love.
So that was her Super Bowl moment.
I love it.
And there was people. Someone wrote me. They said they overheard Mauricio saying at a restaurant, "This is going to be the most epic party in housewife history." So I think they're right. I mean, some people said it looked weird that it was, an empty stadium. I think it was freaking amazing. I wish I was invited. And she had Denise Richards there. Of course, Crystal was there. Garcelle, I think, was there. Erica performed. Lisa Rinna, not there because she's not on the show anymore. Sutton was there. Dorit was there. And I think they were all there. I don't know that I saw photos of everybody, but...
who do you think had a more acrimonious leave, Lisa or Carol Radziwill?
Oh, I think Lisa.
Oh, really? Because I kind of feel like Lisa could come back, where it just seems like Carol and like.
Oh, I guess you're right. No, Carol cannot come back because Carol said the famous line.
Yes.
Oh, are you afraid of her too now, Andy?
All right. And also, you're so full of shit. Two things. I distinctly remember during first season of Beverly Hills, you referring to Mauricio or Kyle with the hot husband. And like his hotness, as it's gently gotten barrier over time, I adore. He's so excited, but remains out of the fray so beautifully. I do have to say, I
don't think there's any other housewife that has built the success that Kyle has. It's been the husband's success, too.
Yes.
So many of these husbands are emasculated, get divorced. She emasculated him, and he took the opportunity, and it came right at the right time. He had the foundation of real estate already, built his own thing, franchised it with the daughters working in it.
I love watching Buying Beverly Hills because if I'm doing dishes, I hear Farrah or Alexia, and I think Kyle is on my screen.
Oh, I know. They sound so much like. So I really think there is not a more successful housewife in the sense of family. Your daughters are, doing great. They have a career.
Yeah.
The husband's great. The husband has given him so many other people jobs because of the agency, and that they've stayed together and everything.
She's always relatable because she's always having falling outs with her sister. Before we go any further, I need to address my former favorite housewife of all time, Dorit Kemsley.
Yes.
And I need to say, she is our first real Jewish Disney princess. Oh,
you're right.
She really is. However much she's been out of the central fray since the end of Lucy Lucy Apple Juice.
Yes.
Still, every cutaway to her outfits. How does she maintain that level of glam and couture? Does PK make enough money? What's going on there? Because she always looks epic.
That is probably the $4 million question.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. She was robbed.
Yes.
And all these things were taken.
Yes.
And luckily they had insurance. Because a lot of things were probably no longer in season.
Yes.
And then she got new things in season.
Yes. I would also say it is just after a trip to London where a person, if, they had some things in their bags and then they were no longer in their bags and then they came back, well, they aren't at the house either.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot there. But no, I mean, there's, they own the house, they don't own the house, they own the house, but a small percentage, they're selling the house.
The reason I am most annoyed that I'm not getting to watch this in real time with you is you real estate talk.
Right.
No one I know knows Southern California real estate better than you. And just sort of the house, when they downsized houses and went to Encino, so many thoughts. I would respect Garcelle more if she had more outdoor space at her home. I want you to explain to me what her house situation is. But we're running short on time, and
No, but getting to Dorit,
yes.
The glam, you know what? She does love it. It really is visually fun. It is part of her identity.
Well, and also,
because
have
what
you seen
happened to
photos
the
of her-
Dorit Beverly Beach bikinis? That's done. That didn't make it. And I know that these like Louis Vuittons and everybody, they don't give her these like, Louis Vuitton leather skirts and jumpsuits and stuff for free.
Yeah.
I don't know that she can borrow them through like a high stylist or not. I can't believe that they don't, because I think like it keeps people making those places relevant. And because lots of times, people are like, I'm over it. Too many people are wearing it. But then you see her wearing it and you're like, God, it is fabulous. Or, the rat tail braid that goes down and like
It's
all
so
of it.
good.
And so I'm like, but the amount of money that this must cost, because the hair and makeup people aren't going to do it for free. Maybe the clothes are borrowed, but everyone says they're not.
Yeah.
They're not being borrowed in return. They are being purchased. I don't know what she does with them after. I don't know if she keeps them, if she resells them at the Real. I don't know, but that's a full-time job just dressing for this show.
But on the subject of husbands and their money when it comes to Beverly Hills.
Yes.
I need to tell you the two things that if I were a real housewife, I would want to say to members of the current housewife cast. Would you like to hear them?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is, and these all center around Erica and Tom. And
Yes.
do I think Erica has been insufferable? Yes. Am I tired of hearing about her? Yes. But I would love to say to Sutton Strack, where do you think Christian's money came from? Like
Her ex-husband.
Her ex-husband. Like, you're whining about these victims. You think your husband, like a billionaire venture capitalist, made his money by, like, giving milk to orphans? No. You're only lucky that your getaway car got away. Like, you just got out of the divorce before we figured out what he's done wrong. And to Crystal Kung Minkoff,
So Erica Jane could have said that. Let me tell you something, baby. Now I'm going to say it what you said. Okay, so Sutton says to her,
well,
I just want to know.
I just want to know.
Okay.
I just want to know how you morally are dealing with the fact that all of these victims are out there because of things that you profited from.
Shut the fuck up. Really, Sutton? You don't think that maybe your husband didn't get his money by giving milk cartons to kids that don't have schools? That's right. Let's just talk about your venture capitalist husband, Christian. How do you think he made his millions as you were being invited to the Dolce & Gabbana fashion show? Oh, you're really such a great conversationalist? They wanted you there? Or was it because you bought millions of dollars of clothes? Are you giving those clothes to orphans and widows? I don't think so. Don't fuck with me. I've been buried and I've risen. It's expensive to be me.
Okay. And
You said it better.
The second, it's fine.
But you come
the
on.
second one, I'm very excited
Yes.
to hear. Prepare your Crystal Kung Minkoff. Okay.
Okay. Well, she just is a Northridge girl.
Okay. So here's what I would say.
Yeah.
To Crystal Kung Minkoff, I would say, did you know that there are 63 Japanese animators who have signed a letter saying that The Lion King was actually stolen from a cartoon that was made in Japan in the 60s? Now, while there's no legal basis for this claim, what moral obligation do you have to those animators?
Well, my husband was the director.
Yeah,
He
who
did not
stole
write
an
it.
idea.
He didn't write it.
He stole images. He stole the look. The look of the animation is the same.
Well, I'm not an animator. And you know what? I'm not a fucking lawyer. That's right, Crystal. You're not an animator. You're not. And I'm not a fucking lawyer. I was a dancer. I was a stripper. I was the lead waitress at Chasen's. And Tom Girardi waddled in. I thought I was going to have the greatest life ever. 21 years later, look at me. Look at my life.
I mean, she's a great character. How do you feel about Garcelle and Sutton just railroading things this last season?
I mean, I love Garcelle as a person. Mm-hmm. Worked with her. I like her.
Yes.
Every time I see her, she could not be more delightful.
Yeah.
She's a dedicated mother. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
I think she did great. I think she's held her own. I think she's been classy. I think during the post-2020, constant racism talk, I think she handled herself absolutely wonderfully based on her point of view of the world.
People
and
keep
also,
telling me how rough things get when, is it Ebony on New York shows up?
No one wants to remember that season.
Yes. But like,
also, it wasn't fun.
Like Garcelle, to me, was a little bit of the energy of like when Lisa and Eileen first showed up, of somebody who still knows how to do a job.
She knows how to do a job, but also she's like she just has some really great expressions where she's just like, okay, and she has to give her, opinion of things. But I will say about the Eric and Tom thing, because I've been covering it forever.
I'm sure.
And I've had major insider Kimberly Archie, who's a huge part of one of the cases and also worked for him and also had...
when I was researching it, many of the pieces of information came up with Juicy Scoop as the source.
But as I produced this show and put it out for the people's ears, okay, it's interesting. People don't really care about Jeffrey Epstein and why no one else has been arrested, but the only person doing time is Ghislaine. I would think that's interesting. I think you would want to be more. But when I do stuff like that, people are like, we're over it. I think they're over Erica and Tom and the orphans and the widows. I think they care, but I don't think they're feeding it. Like it's like a binge. You're binging on Vanderpump. You were binging on Erica and Tom, and now you're like, okay, she's skinny. She gets to sing her songs again. The gays are going back to see her in Vegas.
Yes,
and it looks like she's never going to really be held responsible for anything that her husband did.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people are like, fuck, I don't know what my husband does. So, like, maybe she shouldn't be held responsible. And you go through the nuances, and then people go, but this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's like, I don't think people, like, I think we've moved on. We've moved on from COVID. Like, people are just like, ugh, we've moved on from Tiger King. Well, like, people just move on.
Also, like, Tom Girardi doesn't remember what he did now. Like, it's hard to keep track of it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Erica Jane is what she is. I liked her so much better those first 2 or 3 seasons that she was on when she was...
Well, her personality has massively changed.
Yeah.
And I still don't know that we know who Erica Jane is because she was one way. She had a different voice in the early seasons.
Yeah.
She was like, hey, it's a lot more fun to be rich than poor.
Yeah.
Then she had a voice that was much like deeper and like, I'll tell you something, baby, And now it's like, what are we going to see this season? Now we're going to see like the resurgence of like her being like, I lived, I have other stuff going on. I have this guy in Vegas that's like, I get to do this show. I get to dance and sing again. I really didn't think she would dance and sing again because I thought there's no way the fans are going to go see her. They are.
Of course.
The way people are saying no one's going to go to Tom and, Tom or Schwartz's Insanity. Yes, they are.
Gays love a mess. And
Yes,
also Tom
they're
Sandoval
going
is
back.
hot.
They're going back. People act like they're up in arms. People go see Louis C.K. People will go see Chris D'Elia. Like, you don't need the whole world to go. You just need a couple hundred people to.
What do you think of waterproof mascara gate? Do you think that was...
I just saw a TikTok that waterproof mascara is awful for you. There's a million lawsuits about it. I don't like waterproof mascara because it takes about 4 days for it to come off.
Yeah.
And the only time I've done it is like a makeup artist has used it without consulting with me. And I accidentally use it.
But
yes, I believe that she purposely knew that she was in an emotional state. I don't think she was fake crying. I just knew that the more thing is not that she had the non-waterproof mascara and she was a fan of it or did actually wear it. Me personally, like I said, never wear it. Tell people not to use it. Don't use the waterproof glue on my eyelashes. But the fact that you feel liquid coming down your face and that you wouldn't naturally wipe it tells me that it planned to garner some sympathy, and she needed to do that.
Okay.
Except people then thought it was fake.
All right, I would now like you to turn in, just for a brief moment,
Yes.
into a coach.
Yes.
You have...
It's called a housewife consultant.
A housewife consultant.
Yes.
You have Crystal Kung Minkoff.
I hold 2 degrees.
You have Crystal Kung Minkoff in a corner.
Yeah.
She's managed to survive 2 seasons with just sort of like light friction. I mean, she had an iconic moment with Sutton.
Yeah.
But her capacity to generate drama has not been great. What is her strategy for this season?
This is a challenge. I might have to give you back your consulting fee. Honestly, it really is. Because Crystal is a complete delight. I've interviewed, I've talked to her.
Yes.
She's extremely normal.
Yes.
Like I said, she's from Northridge. She is not a geisha.
Yeah.
Like she met him
Yeah.
young, but like 22 or 21
I mean,
or
she
something.
clearly has her own shit going
She
on
did
and a
marry
healthy sense
guy
of
that's
self.
like 40 years older than she, but they've been together a long time. He's very delightful.
Yeah.
She's a mom, and I don't know what she's going to bring this season. I mean, also you don't want to have people have to fake their life. She's revealed she's had an eating disorder. She's, she is the first, Asian woman on the show, so we get to see that part of her culture, which I think is really fun. She also has a great business that they don't highlight. She
Which is
created
what?
the coconut water.
Oh, really?
That's in Costco.
Really?
With like a high school or college friend.
Why
Like
don't
she
we know
has
about
her own
that?
money. She has her own business.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They won't share it because they won't give it any of it because she created it before.
Oh.
But like, why not see her like at least have one meeting about it?
Yeah.
Because I think that's interesting.
But listen, no, here's what the strategy is.
Yes.
Next season, the best way to survive as a housewife is to attack and potentially destroy one of the weaker housewives who's been around for a while. The answer is eat Dorit or eat Denise. I think that Denise is a harder game because you have to come. I think if you come at Denise from the right direction, she'll fold. Like there are places where she has a sense of power and places where she doesn't. And I think that there's a lot of spine in Denise Richards.
I mean, that's what's just hard about this job.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, it's become a place of combat.
Yeah.
And so they do have to do that to keep their job. I also think someone like Crystal doesn't care if they don't ask her back.
Yeah.
So I say to Crystal, don't go low. Don't go after somebody unless they go after you or your marriage or bring up that animation shit.
Yeah.
Then fucking go after them. But if they don't, be the young, gorgeous, happily married woman that you are.
I'm sorry.
That's a businesswoman who's smart, who really came from normal valley means, who is also like super thrifty. Like don't change.
Her going hard at Dorit would be so funny.
I can't see it because neither one of them are vicious.
No,
so that would be weird.
like they both
that
have-
would feel inauthentic. So I say don't do that.
I know. It's just like Dorit has such a hard and awkward time when people are coming after her.
Because
she
Dorit,
doesn't know how to
too,
fight back.
Is a genuine. Listen, they're all nice to me because
Yes.
I had them all on. And
Yes.
They're all nice to me, and and even though I talked a lot of stuff about Erica Jane, either she doesn't know or doesn't care. But when I
Yes.
saw her getting off the plane at BravoCon, she asked about my fall. She was perfectly nice.
Oh, that's
and I
wonderful.
am happy that she's back and
The thing-
performing. I am
the
because
thing-
I'm like,
One of the things I love most about this world is you are someone who means a great deal to me, and there has been a journey with our relationship, as there always is between sisters. I mean, who are we if not Kim, Kyle, and Kathy? Just by weight. But knowing in each of these worlds that this is a world, these are women. I mean, it's the truest Gen X culture. It's the truest Gen X women's culture, and that these are worlds that
that's beautiful.
that you can enter
That's
into.
no one has ever said, and it's so true. And as someone that's their age, when people, that's why I love it. I love that other fans have found it. I love that gay guys love it as admiring women big sisters. But you're right. It's Gen X. It is my life.
And it is also, it's women being business people. It's women being smart. It's defining like women between 30 and 60 as having relationships that matter as much as husband or child. But the fact that you can always go into this world, that I always know you're friends with Vicky. Like you have a husband who is in real estate too, and you have your own business and you have 2 children. And that when you see these people, you see them as people on TV that you talk about, but also as like peers, to the extent that like Erica Jane is sort of like, I heard about your fall. Are you okay?
Yeah. So Guy, such a delight. And I love that you say that I am a sorority girl because I do identify as that. It is part of my history. There's a lot of people that have said they hate that I was in a sorority and that I bring it up too much and that they therefore have to stop following me and write a horrible 1-star review. And I just want to say to those people, you don't have to join the sorority. You can hate sororities. I'm going to cover Bama Rush, the HBO Max doc, soon.
Yeah.
I might bring it up at my live show in Vegas. I don't know. But that is something that I lived through. Like other people could say they were a Marine. And I have a right to talk about it. So I love that you recognize it, that it makes me who I am and the good, the bad, the ugly about it. And I just want to say that.
You have a strong life philosophy and you have a strong moral center, which I think isn't the first thing that comes to people's mind when you have somebody who shows up put together and talks about silly gossip shows and stuff like that.
Aww.
But I think that it's the reason that you are good at analyzing these things is because you come at it from an earnest place of like, how do I behave with the people in my life?
What a beautiful way to end. Guy Branum, tell everybody where they can follow you and get your incredible wisdom on life.
Well, they can't get my wisdom, but Platonic on Apple Plus comes out today. This is the entirety of my press junket. I'm only a recurring.
That's amazing. Tell us about this show.
It's Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen, and it was written and directed by Francesca Zalbanco and Nick Stoller, who co-wrote and directed Bros. And so it's about... basically, a guy gets divorced, and his former platonic female best friend who hated his wife, hits him up and is like, they start hanging out again. And then she, a woman in her 40s, sort of starts going through her midlife crisis and going back to who she was when she was in her 20s.
Ooh, I love this.
And her husband is played by Luke, the hot guy from Bros.
Love.
And I play his work husband.
You're married to the Luke guy?
No.
Oh, just work husband.
Yes, Luke is married to Rose,
Oh.
but I'm to him what I was to you so many years ago. The sounding board in your office.
I love this. I am definitely watching this show, Platonic on Apple Plus.
Yes, and I am across all social media at Guy Branum, and I am working on no projects because I am on strike. WGA strong.
Absolutely. Keep that health insurance, whatever it takes. I love you, Guy. Thank you so much.
I love you very much, Heather. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for talking to me about this stuff. It's the thing I've wanted most.
I'm sure people will beg for you to come back. As the strike continues and you have more time to watch, please come with notes, and we will talk about other things. Find another franchise, do whatever you want. I suggest attacking Atlanta.
Okay.
Okay, bye. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. I have such exciting news. Arizona, guys, I'm going to the place that made me a star, Tempe Improv. I will be there Friday, the 16th, and Saturday, the 17th of June with your favorite Chris Frangiola. Recently announced. Get those tickets. Going to be so fun. You go to heathermcdonald.net for all the shows. I've got Vegas, as you know, where you can get the streamer and watch it for 7 days after. That's this weekend. I've got Napa. I've got Irvine Improv, San Francisco and Sacramento, everything, all the East Coast dates with Chris Frangiola. All of those are at heathermcdonald.net. Click on there. Also, you can join Patreon and listen to my super juicy episodes that are bonus episodes every Friday. Get it, commercial free. You will love it. heathermcdonald.net. Thank you.